Hey guys, it's Kamai Tarpley, your friendly neighborhood author. Um, let's talk. We've definitely got something important to talk about today. So most of you, if you follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you'll know that this past weekend I worked the Las Vegas Book Festival. Aside from it having its own problems, which more than likely included poor promotion, because it really wasn't busy at all. Because last year was popping, so I don't know what happened. Um, Aside from that being the issue, I personally had my own issues with my booth. There were some things that were kind of said, some kind of comments that were made to me that were really kind of like off putting. And it all kind of stems from me being a Black fantasy author. So there's two groups really that I'm going to talk about. It's people who are not of color and people who are of color and why they kind of cause me problems at the booths. So let's start with people not of color, because it kind of leads into it. So, I usually am used to getting passed over a little bit more, especially at the book festival, because people see, a Black woman and, her work, and they automatically assume it's going to be some urban story. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be anything creative. It's just going to be about, so-and-so's baby daddy, baby mama having some type of drama, and I don't write that stuff. So, and I was noticing with some of the comments that I were getting, like, people were very uncomfortable with purchasing novels that had brown characters. And that's so disturbing to me. It's so disturbing because I feel like they're not looking at us as regular people. It makes me feel like if you can't read a book where, someone Black is the main character, then you don't feel like it's a regular character, which makes me feel like you don't feel like we're regular people. You know what I'm saying? Like I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, Black people have really only been citizens for, not that very long, even though we built the country. You know what I mean? So we were only declared human beings not that long ago either. So it's maybe subconscious for some people, but that subconscious does come out, and I can see it and I can feel it, and it's bothering me, and it makes me so uncomfortable and so furious that you can't just look at a story and be like, oh, the story's awesome and the characters happen to be Black. Because the way I write my books is my characters are brown. In some of my books, not all of them, like Sugarcoat Savages, they're white, but and Beguilement, I have like a mix, but even if they're brown, that's not their defining characteristics. It is what they are. It is not who they are, and that's how you have to kind of apply it. And that's something that you apply to life as well. Like, I am a Black female. That is what I am. That's not who I am. There's so many other layers to who I am as a human being, as a person. So that was really actually upsetting that so many people were really uncomfortable with brown characters being the lead. And also assuming that it was just only African literature. I don't write African literature. I'm not from Africa. From the East Coast originally, so I don't know how I'm supposed to write African literature. But anyway, and then just along with that, like, I had a woman, and she had good intentions. Like, I definitely understand, because she was a person of color herself. But she came up and she's like, oh, because my biggest poster was Mother Mikan and the War of the Realms. And if you guys have seen that book, which I hope you've seen it, I really hope you bought it. It's my mom and my friend. They're both Black. Duh. My mom's obviously Black. And it's them. That's the forefront. And she saw the poster. She's like, oh, I'm happy that you decided to put your color or your culture on display. Because a lot of people wouldn't do that. She's like, I really like that you're proud of that. And it was kind of just like, I kind of appreciate the compliment, but at the same time, I was a little kind of just like, it's a little offensive, because I feel like it just goes to show how, people are still, again, whether subconscious or not, racist when I think of literature, because, I was expected to hide them. I was expected to hide the fact that my characters are brown. I'm brown, guys. Like, I would never hide myself, so why would I hide my characters? It just, the fact that someone would come up and say that definitely justifies the way I feel about it, because it makes me feel like, I'm not wrong and stuff. Like, I'm not incorrect in my assessment of what's going on. I think people need to be a little more open to that. I think everyone should kind of challenge themselves to read a book that's either by a person of color or about a person of color. That's just normal. That's just a normal human being. They're not fighting white people about stuff. They're not going through civil rights, not going through slavery. They're just either magical beings or just regular people living their lives and stuff. Like, try it. So yeah, that bugs me. And then let's move on to the next. My Black people, I need you to expand your minds. Okay, I was getting really pissed off actually, because even though most of the people who bought my books were Black, I do feel like it was a little bit more of a, let me help her out. Let's do it for the culture. You know what I mean? I was kind of frustrated because I had so many Black people come to my table and they'd be like walk away in disgust, that I would write fantasy. Like, they would just like, I don't want that evil stuff. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Don't come to my booth then. You know what I mean? Because it's very clear by my posters that that's what I do. And I'm dressed in all Black. Like, it's just very clear that's what I do. And then when you come over to the booth and I tell you, they're dark fantasy novels, no one's forcing you to stay. And you can politely leave. You can just be like, I'm into different genres, so, I may have to pass for now and stuff, but, we appreciate you, whatever. But they had like such a huge problem with it and stuff. And I'm just like, how am I supposed to find my audience? You know what I mean? Like, and I've noticed this too on social media too. Like, I don't really get a whole lot of support from the Black community, and it makes me feel very frustrated because it leads into, again, we don't have to be, people who only read urban novels and stuff. We don't have to fall into what other people think of us. In fact, that concerns me, that you think that's all there is to us and stuff. You don't see us as witches and wizards and elves and just these magical beings that other people get to experience, but we don't. And it just makes me feel like, it reminds me a lot of high school because, long story short, I'll try and make it short, just some background. I was very much growing up shunned from the Black community because I'm very just myself and stuff. Like, the way I talk, you talk like a white girl, I try and be friends and he'd be like, we don't want to be your friend because you're too white. Or, there are times where I would go up to like a group of Black people, because my mom's was very like pro-Black. We're from Brooklyn and everyone's just who they are out there and stuff. Like, there's no stereotype of really who you have to be. You can be who you want. And so we moved out here thinking that people thought, in Vegas, thinking people thought the same thing. That wasn't the case, but I would go up to groups of people and, try and be friends with them, and they would ignore me until I left and stuff. Like, and sometimes it gets me still a little bit emotional because to have people try and strip your ethnicity away from you like that, it's really hard. And it wasn't until I got into my adulthood, that I saw how beautiful Black could be. I really embraced my culture more. Like, growing up, I did, of course, but I didn't feel that sense of community. I wasn't in community. I didn't belong anywhere and stuff. Like, the Black kids didn't want me. And then, other people who weren't Black, I was the Black girl. You know what I mean? So it was just like, I didn't fit in anywhere and stuff. And that's kind of who I write my books for. Like, people who are like me, like who like science fiction, who like fantasy novels, who want to kind of expand your minds, like, who aren't like the typical type of person. That's who I write my stuff for, and, it's going to be kind of hard trying to adjust myself maybe to get a little bit more of a grip on my audience because, it is becoming blatantly clear. I do have to kind of change the way I market myself because I can't just market myself to Black people. I can't market myself to everybody else. I got to kind of try and figure out how to get in a niche, but the racing is a very hard thing to get around. I know people say it just takes hard work, but that's not all it takes. I work very hard, very, very hard. But yeah, it's tough. So I really need, other Black people to kind of try and expand your minds, embrace creativity. Just because something's like, witches, it doesn't mean you're going to get possessed at night. You know what I mean? Like, let that go. Try something different, try something new. Even if you don't read my stuff, try something new. We don't have to stick in the same thing. Be different. Don't be scared to be yourself. It wasn't until I, really got an attitude of, I don't give a fudge, that I really started to meet like my true friends and stuff. Like, because I mean, again, like I used to try and fit in with these other kids and stuff who were Black, and I tried to be like them and I tried to dress like them, and it all felt so wrong and stuff. It didn't feel like me. And so, I don't care if I sound like a Valley girl. I don't care if you don't like that. I like pop. I like rock. I like everything. Okay. I don't really like R&B that much. I don't really like it that much, but who cares and stuff. My color does not mean I have to be a certain way. And if you feel that your color means you have to be a certain way, then you need to check yourself, because you can't get mad at somebody stereotyping you when you feel like there's a stereotype you need to fit in. Get out of that box. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I really have to kind of like reevaluate some things, because this book festival really kind of like opened my eyes to certain things and stuff like that I already knew existed, but I just tried to like still go around these things. But I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop writing how I write. Maybe 200 years from now when I'm a robot, because I'm not going anywhere. Maybe like 200 years from now, after I'm gone, like, there will be a Black girl who's like me, or a Black woman who's like me, and she wants just something to read something that where the characters look like her, where the characters have braids and brown skin and beautiful brown eyes, like, and she feels good about herself and stuff. And that's, I'll be in heaven, because I know I'm going to heaven. That would make this all worth it. Yeah, I'm not changing anything about the way I write. If you guys have a problem with the fact that my characters are brown, whether you're a person of color or not a person of color, don't read my stuff, stay off my page, stay off everything, because this stuff is not for you. You're not welcome at my page if you have a problem with any of that, to be honest. That's it. And I got aggressive for a second. But if you feel a way, you deserve my aggression. You do. And stuff. Like, you don't need to comment. You need to tell me you're disgusted by the stuff I write. Stay away. Stay clear. And let me write my beautiful characters of multicolors, multi-ethnicities. Okay? And that's it. Thanks for watching. This is actually very long today. But, whatever. Sorry if my eyes are red. I work grave, so, But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.